What's going on? I'm Jamie Blake, and in this video, I'll be showing you some cool tricks on how to make beautiful sounding chords using field recordings or noise, or even recording silence from your laptop speaker with I Wish from Polyverse. So to start, I'm going to show you the source material that I'm using. I have a field recording that I took of me just driving. So let's take a listen to that real fast. Okay, so let's talk about how to set up the routing inside of Ableton Live. So I'm gonna put the I Wish plugin on this track that has the field recording, and then just drag that straight onto this track. And then you'll need a second track, a MIDI track, routed to the input of this audio track that has I Wish on it. So right here in the IO section, I'm gonna send this MIDI to Driving, which is the name of the track right here that has the field recording and I Wish on it. And you can see below Driving, it says I Wish. So now I'm gonna hit play and come up with a chord progression on the push and find something to work with. So that sounds pretty good. Let's clean up the MIDI real fast. And I'm gonna leave just a little bit of space at the end of the notes. So the first thing I'm gonna go over is how the amp envelope affects the sound. So you'll notice as I adjust the attack that it's gonna wait just a little bit before it fades into the sound of the field recording being processed. So here with that slower attack, there's a little bit of the sound of the field recording that gets let through before the sound happens. I like that right around 300, 336, I think is what it's at. So now I'm gonna adjust the release. So you can hear that kind of slowly fade and decay away back into the sound of the original field recording. So the next thing I'm gonna adjust is the crossfade. Okay, so now I'm gonna make some quick adjustments to the formant, and then I'm gonna add some modulation to both the pitch and the formant, using an LFO and an envelope. All right, so now it has a little bit brighter timbre to it, and now I'm gonna send some of this LFO to the formant. And the way that you do that is with this little button down here. So right now the LFO is set to a sine wave. You can adjust the different shapes right down here. There are a couple controls for the LFO that I'm gonna go over, but first let's just send it to the formant, take a listen to what it sounds like. So you can hear there's a little bit of a delay before the LFO actually starts taking place, and the way that you can control this is with this fade, and you can see the value in milliseconds below it for how long it's going to wait after it receives a MIDI message to actually engage the LFO. All right, so now I'm gonna adjust the rate of the LFO, and I'm gonna take it out of tempo lock so that it moves in terms of hertz and it's not locked to a tempo. And I'm gonna slow the rate down quite a bit. Now I'm gonna increase the modulation amount. All right, so already the sound is far more interesting than when I started, but now I'm gonna take it another step further, and I'm gonna add some modulation to the pitch using the envelope control. So if I drag this green dot up, I'm gonna take the pitch up an octave, so 12 semitones, and then I have control over the delay, so how long the sound plays for before this envelope kicks in, and then the decay, which is how long it takes the pitch kind of ramp up from the initial pitch to an octave up. So I'm gonna adjust these and take a listen. right, so I like the sound of that. And now I'm just gonna fine tune some of the controls and maybe add a little bit of modulation from this envelope to the formant as well. All right, so now as the pitch ramps up an octave, the formants actually go up a fifth, 7 semitones simultaneously. So next, I'm gonna add a second track, and I'm gonna use a different recording, and I'm gonna show you another trick that I learned from a separate video about I Wish on Polyverse YouTube channel using an arpeggiator. So I have a second track labeled ARP here, and then I have another audio track named Silence. So I'm just gonna go ahead and record some silence using the built-in laptop microphone on my MacBook. So if I go to configure, you can see that just my MacBook Pro microphone. I'm just gonna record a bit of nothing. So let's see what my silent space sounds like. Then I'm gonna turn up the volume a bit. Then before I add I Wish onto this new sound, let's just take a listen to what it sounds like real quick. So it kind of sounds like you're on the inside of an airplane or something. So I've got I Wish, turn it on, and I'm just gonna initialize the patch, start from scratch here. And then I'm gonna take the same MIDI clip that's triggering the chords on the driving field recording and copy it down to this ARP MIDI track. And then just as a reminder, the MIDI information from this ARP track is being routed to this track called Silence, which is the recording of my silent room, and it's going into I Wish. And then I've got this arpeggiator loaded on here. It's got a pretty fast rate, and that you could think of that as having a higher resolution to the sound as it triggers notes faster inside of I Wish. So before I go any further and make any tweaks, let's just take a listen to what this sounds like. All right, so that sounds more or less like I'm shredding on an electric guitar, which by itself can be pretty cool. But I'm gonna see if I can make this a little more in the style of something that I might personally use. So inside of I Wish, I'm just gonna adjust some of the controls and then do some fine tuning to mesh this with the original sound. And then I'm actually gonna extend these notes so there's no gap there. With the arpeggiator on, the release time value on this amp envelope makes a big difference. So just take a listen to that real quick as I adjust this. So that sounds pretty cool. So now just to get these two to mesh well, I might add a little bit of filter automation or just cut out some of one or both of these sounds so they can interplay together. So I think what I'm gonna do is just cut out this ARP track every couple bars so that when the first track ramps up an octave, this one stops playing, this room silence track stops playing to leave some space for the first track. All right, and then secondly, what I'm gonna do is automate a low pass filter so that it can kind of ramp up once the pitch of this goes up an octave from I Wish. So this will look something like this. Let's see what this sounds like. Make some last adjustments to this ARP track and then see what this sounds like in the context of a mix. then lastly, I'm gonna add a little bit of reverb using Comet, and then also some sidechain from a kick drum track that I have onto the main chords, the first track of my driving field recording. So that sounds pretty cool. Again, you could do this with anything. You could record anything and turn it into something amazing. So I hope you found this helpful. I hope you found it inspiring. If you liked the video, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing, leaving a comment. Let us know what kind of videos you'd like to see in the future. All right, thanks again for watching. Until next time.